In this video, I'm going to show you how to position your product the right way, how to actually stop burning money with ads and use paid ads to advertise profitably, and do all of that without the need for an agency, right? So if you have an existing product, you're making, I don't know, like around 50K, 100K a month, or maybe even less also, I'll show you how to get to 500K, a million a month, without necessarily changing a lot of things, right? So let's jump right into this. First thing that I want to touch is really to position your product for a mass market desire, okay? Writing here, positioning, mass desire. This is very important because we don't want to create desire. This is something that I see a lot of people, propagating. Yeah, you need to create desire with your product. You need to create brand awareness, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in that. At least I'm talking only about the things that I see working. So what I see working for a lot of brands that I'm coaching, and also for my own brands, is that you have to have a mass desire that you're tapping into, right? So when you have your product and you want to sell your product, you need to first understand, where's my market, right? So what's the mass desire? Okay, how do we do this? Let's take a specific example, okay? Now, let's say this is your product, okay? Whatever your product may be, let's just take this one, okay? Pick this one. This is like a mushroom blend coffee. And then what I do is I use ChatGPT just to understand, like, what are the potential market desires, right? So the process behind that is essentially to first understand, like, what are potential advertising angles / mass market desires that I could tap into with my specific product. So let's go and zoom in a little bit. This is my prompt, right? I'm exploring different potential positionings for my product. What are potential advertising angles for this product? Please make sure to also explain how the product helps with each specific angle, right? And then you have your, in this case, I just gave it the product link, right? I recommend using the O3 model, right? If you don't have that, you can also use the 4O, but I've seen better results with the O3. Anyways, this is what we got back, right? So we have a couple of angles, right? So here, half the caffeine, none of the jitter. Brain fuel for focused work. Immune armor in a mug. Gut-friendly coffee, right? Performance fuel for athletes. Keto-friendly morning ritual. Stressless coffee, right? So the idea behind that is essentially that behind every single angle, there is a slightly different target audience, or sometimes, a completely different target audience, right? So the people that, care about, getting rid of coffee jitters are not necessarily the people that want to have, that work more focused, right? So this is very important to first understand, like, what are all the potential, the potential angles. So when we go back to this, imagine your product being here, right? This is my product. And then I basically have like a couple, as you've seen now in this example, I have basically a couple of potential angles, right? Angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, once you've done this research, and obviously you can go deeper, but I just want to show you the process behind that. That's where you then test these angles, right? Without creating, wasting a bunch of budget when it comes to creating the creatives and stuff like that. So you don't want to go out now and basically say, okay, let's create UGC for the coffee jitter angle. Let's create UGC for the focus angle, right? Because this is what would like cost you a lot of money. It will take a long time, right, to get all of this stuff live. We don't want to wait that long, and we don't want to invest money into an angle that might not be the one that makes sense for us, right? So what you do is essentially very simple. This is also what I do in every single case, is that you just have like a very simple image ad, right? Where you have your product, right? This is your product. Then you have a headline. I'll talk about that in a second. And, for example, some social proof here, right? Very, very simple ad, right? Static ad. The important thing is that we can create these static ads by ourselves, right? In a couple of minutes, right? We don't have to wait a long time. It's very cheap. It's very fast. And what we can do, and this is actually the magic behind that, is this message is basically the key is that you have for every single angle, let's say 5 different static ads, right? And each of these static ads has a message that really resonates with the angle, right? So the idea is basically that somebody of that angle that reads this message, basically raises their hand and says, yes, that's me, okay? So let's just continue here and ask, okay, for the first angle, please share 5 customer testimonials that make someone within this angle raise their hand and express click on this headline. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, so as I mentioned, like the idea is really that we have something that we can use so that we can actually test it and have data behind it, right? So this is again a strategy that helps you to not waste a lot of money in the process. And this is something that I see a lot, like a bunch of brands come to me and essentially have been working with agencies in the past. They've been burned, like almost everybody got burned. And now they want to take things in-house, right? And now they want to really like scale to $1 million a month and above. And that's kind of like the first thing that we do, right? So yes, you might have some learnings on some angles, but it's good to do this process initially, again, just to understand, like, to do your homework, right? So now, while this is populating, I'm just going to go already to the next step so we don't lose any time, right? So the first thing is really the positioning, right? So once you've understood the positioning, a bunch of stuff happens next, right? So what I like to do is really to, optimize the offer. Right? What do I mean by that, right? And why is this important? Now, we are competing, obviously, right? And it doesn't matter which mass market desire we're choosing, which angle we're choosing. Finally, we're competing against other offers within this market, right? So we need to make sure that our offer is actually strong and is actually helping people, to convert in a very easy way, right? So without a lot of, let's say, resistance, okay? So what we do for that, and this is actually a great example, is that our job is it to, first of all, highlight how good our offer is. Like we have to explain how good our offer is. And we also have to make sure that the perceived value exceeds the actual price by a landslide, right? So, and I'm going to show you how they did this in this example, for example. Okay, so here we have the mushroom coffee, obviously. First thing that we see is that it's 25 off today, 25% off today. So you see the normal price would be $36, but now it's $27, right? Another thing to realize here, it's only 0.9 per serving, right? So they actually calculate how much it costs and how cheap it actually is per serving, right? That's the first thing. Another one is that you actually have, a couple of benefits that come with purchasing this product. In this case, they have free gifts, right? This is something that I always recommend. Like if you have something like this in stock, use it, right? So in their case, it's like a magnet. Then they have a scoop. They have another scoop, right? So those are all free, this is all value that doesn't cost you a lot, right? This doesn't cost you a lot to produce, but still it's a great added value for the customer. Another one to show you what else you can do is essentially to, just push this to the extreme, right? Go one step further and say, okay, let's do a bundle. Obviously, again, it's 25% off, but you have just more stuff in it, right? It's a higher AOV, it's a higher order value, right? Instead of 27, it's 49, but you get, travel creamer, you get coffee-free travel pack, and so on and so forth, right? So you get the idea. When you don't have that yet, make sure to integrate something like this into your strategy, right? It's very easy to do, but this really helps people to convert. Now, let's go back to this here and essentially look at, okay, what did we get here, right? For example, ready-to-use social proof snippets for the half the caffeine, none of the jitters angle. Love coffee, but hate the jitters. Rise was the solution for me. Delicious with zero sacrifices, right? Pairs perfectly with my creamer, and there's no nausea, anxiety, or jitters at all. Just place my third order, right? So those are statements that you could actually just put on, in this case, it's actually reviews, but you could just put them on static ads and test them against each other, right? Just to figure out which one resonates the most, and then also which angle resonates the most. And then you double down on the winning angle. And that's the last part, right? So once you've optimized your offer, then we talk about doubling down, okay? And what do I mean by that? The idea behind that is to say, okay, now I know, I basically have confirmed my angle, okay? Let's say it's jitters in this case. Then my job as a marketer is to make sure that I'm testing different creative types, right? To basically get the same message out in different ways to understand which type of communication is actually working the best. And again, this is where a lot of people go wrong. Still, a lot of agencies go wrong. That's why they get burned. Like, they don't even do this job to begin with. The positioning part, they don't do the offer optimization part, which obviously is then difficult when it comes to conversion rate. And they also don't double down properly, right? So what you see a lot is basically a bunch of different creatives with different angles, messagings, or it's just like UGC because they think UGC is, the best thing ever, which is not always the case. So what we want to do is actually test these different ones. I call this creative exploration, where you essentially take the angle and you take the messaging, and now you figure out, okay, let's test some UGC concepts. Let's test founder ads, okay? Let's test further static ads, right? There might be something there. But in all of these, the first priority is to create creatives that are top of funnel compatible, right? So the idea is really that you have creatives that by themselves, they're able to convert people and also like get in front of a lot of people at the same time, right? So yeah, this is just like a speed run essentially of what the steps are so that you can, just get more clarity into your creative testing, get more, just work more towards a goal when it comes to the strategy. Because what I see a lot is really a lot of confusion when it comes to angles, when it comes to messages, when it comes to creative types. And this costs you a bunch of money, right? This is exactly what costs you so much money every single month in wasted ad spend, in wasted creative costs, in headaches with running after creatives or the agency or whatever the case, like whoever is running this thing. And this is really what enabled like a couple of my clients now, including myself, to scale to $1 million a month. And this is really, it's not that complicated, and it should not be complicated. And this is what you see throughout all of the videos on my channel. I'm a big believer in keeping things simple and not like overcomplicating stuff, because e-commerce is complicated in itself. So you have enough stuff with like cash flow management and inventory management, forecasting, whatever the case may be. So keep the acquisition simple. This is my 3-step process, and yeah, hope that helped you. I hope this brings more clarity into your acquisition. If you want me, to guide you along the way and help you and basically show you how I've helped other brands as well, scale to 500K a month, a million a month in a couple of months, then make sure to click the link below, and we see if there's a fit, and chat. All right. Take care. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.